Okay, I don't know if this will be the last one, but I have to do it because for the last time, what I run into is oftentimes if we forget to do this, what we don't or what we can't accomplish, it can be accomplished in training. Here's some factors that you're going to be looking at in a massive solar storm. A grid problem, whatever it would be, you have to have two-way. That's one. OpSec, you want to do, check your perimeter, and you're looking at some of the factors. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that when you're dealing with static electricity, ball lightning, you're talking about pacemakers. So the last thing you want to see happen is not know what to do. So with that kind of static electricity, and we're talking about energy field right now, where you're going to see a couple different scenarios. So we're looking at the grounding, a pacemaker. Like in the same case with a marathon runner, you put a penny in their shoe and that'll at least, it'll help like basically conduct that energy. Because we're talking about energy that's, there's different forces at work. You have an energy level at the bottom of your foot and above you because of atmospheric compression. It explains blood pressure condition and things. That's why I say go ahead and look at this differently than you would normally, because you got to factor in static electricity, ball lightning, two major factors in these solar events. And that's the homework assignment that I need you all to pay attention, because it's a whole lot different. It'll help you assess a patient a lot different, and you're going to save lives. So I'm looking at the blood pressure and check the vitals, and obviously go through the same things you would normally do, but factor in now the noise, and that you got to make sure you assess the patients, and say it's a doctor and officer, okay? And these are the things that are going on in a hospital. This has nothing to do with like putting on the generator or anything. This is a whole different type of event. And from our homework and research, this massive solar storm, these are the kind of things I would be looking at. And you know what? Somebody with a pacemaker, I'm looking at the grounding, because that's when a lot of times a massive heart attack, and it's simply just putting a penny in their shoe. Same thing with a runner. If you were to assess a runner, marathon runner, you would have to make sure that they have a penny in their shoe, because a lot of times, because of the static electricity that's conducted through the foot, which leads to a massive heart attack. A simple penny in the shoe conducts that static electricity. So there are a couple things here that if you put it all together, you can make the case for a case study. Something you probably normally would not do unless you really understand the effects of the solar storm. So that's why I went through this, because I didn't want to forget how we go through this. Now, how you go in what order, you know, I'm just laying it out. These are some of the factors. And then, of course, if you're looking at the noise, and this is right now what we have is a massive CME, and we've had frequencies in storms. So these storms intensify, and you look at atmospheric compression playing a role in how you assess a patient. It just comes down to what's going on in the weather. You know, they say, what's up? Hello? The solar storm. And that's why I really want you all to focus on the static electricity, because that's going to really explain a lot of somebody who has a pacemaker, or, you know, I would make the same comparison with a runner in a marathon, okay? Because typically they're the same thing, and it all comes down to the static electricity. Now, ball lightning. If you don't understand what ball lightning, I had some experiences with ball lightning, and when these storms are occurring, you're going to see more of this, and it'll. I just read it on Facebook, so I figured I'd just step up. But if you have ball lightning, it can happen in your kitchen, and when the energy feels that electric, when everything's kind of electrified, it just makes sense to pay attention. This might not be of any use now, but what this is going to do is that you're going to remind yourself of some things that will possibly be useful, like that penny. You know, a way to conduct static electricity. You can do a little bit more on that. I'm just giving you the basic rundown. I'm not saying that you have to do it this way, but if I'm looking at car alarms going off and a fire's igniting and it has something to do with a solar event, I'm going to first look to, is it lightning and static electricity? And I'm going to want to assess the pregnant mother, because obviously that pressure on a mother explains that problem. If they have a pacemaker, we want to have some way to conduct energy. That's why you should have copper wire. There's other metals that will help conduct it, but copper's been the best one so far in penny, and that's where you get with the penny. You have to have copper. Copper bullets. Copper is going to be key here. People who have some basic knowledge on how copper is used, you're going to want to be a little bit more informed on copper, because it's really a good conductor, and you're looking for the best way to help somebody what could be easily preventable. Especially somebody like that, you're going to think solar storm. You're going to think the first thing I want you to consider is static electricity, ball lightning, because that's going to be more of what your injuries. And then of course these alarms could go off. I mean, everything can go sideways really quickly, and it's all because the solar storm affects, you know, it's a whole different type of storm event. It's not like, you know, but the same would apply if you have power lines going down, you know. But this is something that's atmospheric, okay? It's in the atmosphere. When you look at nanoparticles and these things that are actually have an effect on how you breathe, how you would assess a patient, you're going to look differently at this. So your perimeter and your OpSec, and you got car alarms going off and fires just igniting, and you're saying, okay, we just had a solar event, and you know, when you understand how the solar storm affects those things, because things could just go off. You know what I mean? So it's that way. So noise. You could be assessing a doctor and patient, you know, or an officer. You know, this is average person walking up and saying, okay, this is what we got: static electricity, ball lightning, pacemaker, grounding. You need a penny in your shoe. It's that simple. You make sure somebody's properly wrapped. I mean, you could get a first aid kit and you can look at what's in the first aid kit. I would just recommend everyone who has the ability to go to the store and get iodine pills. The water could be easily contaminated. There's a lot of things that we don't look at, or maybe we overlook, but it doesn't hurt to go through this over and over again. And I'll keep saying this. It's really comes down to that grid and the massive solar storm. Okay? Now, I know there's no special order. I just need to throw it up there. And we could go through this over and over again, but like I said, it's probably going to be the same thing. If I have a doctor that gets hit by, is affected by the static electricity, I'm going to need to take care of the doctor so he's okay, and the officer. You know, these are things that I could run into easily. I've run into situations before with static electricity, and there was a doctor right there on the page telling us how she was just affected by the electricity. So here I am. Goes back to the same thing, and it's happening. It's happening right now. So pay attention.